Hey everyone, please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. Well, the time has come. The new Dungeon Master's Guide is in my hot little hands, and I'm going to take a look at the Greyhawk section today on Greyhawk.net. Well, we knew this day was coming, and as I've said, my attitude has been one of cautious pessimism as to how they do a treatment of the World of Greyhawk. The Greyhawk is included in the new 5th edition 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, supposedly, well, not supposedly, but as an example of how to set up a campaign world. It starts on page 143 and goes quite a number of pages, actually. Goes to page 171, so we've got about 28 pages. No, that's not right. However many pages that is. My math skills are not working today. In addition to that section of the book, there is also a map in the back of the book, which I have yet to detach. This has been floating around, and on the back, it's on one side it's got a map of Flanaess, and on the other side it's got a map of the city of Greyhawk. I'm not going to do an in-depth fisking of this section here, comparing things to what's gone before, except in a couple of sections where it's very noticeable. One of the things I do note, and I'm not going to do a complete flip through because I don't want to get my video taken down for copyright and demonetized and all that good stuff. So it'll be quick flashes, and then I'll be talking. A lot of it is it's standard stuff. It's solid Greyhawk material. It's not bad. It's gives you the what is Oerth, what is Orc, what is Eastern Orc, the Flanaess or Flanaess, as they say, and the Greyhawk. It's set in the year 576, and that's important because that is the same year that the folio and the gold box and most of the classic adventures were set, 577, 578, depending. So that's the golden age, no pun intended, of Greyhawk. This is for those who are not completely conversant with the set. That places this before Greyhawk Wars, right? So it's before Greyhawk Wars, before From the Ashes, and before the last section of the last era of Greyhawk, which was 591. So that's a good thing. That is it's taking it back to the origins, which is fine. We do know a lot about that era, however, so there are a lot of opportunities for them to either violate or rewrite canon. So here we go. They give a list of Greyhawk conflicts, and this is a little confusing to me because one of the things they have here is chromatic dragons. And while that's certainly fine, you could do that. That's never really been mentioned before in Greyhawk ever. That Tiamat is sending dreams to evil dragons to get them to stir them up. I mean, it's perfectly fine. Doesn't contradict anything, certainly. It just seems weird to put it in as a major conflict when it's a new edition. But and honestly, I would probably if I was going to focus something on dragons, I'd probably want to relegate that to a Dragonlance Kryn thing. But it's not bad. Elemental evil, which is cool, and what they do is they give you, like, if you want to have your players have this as their big bad, it tells you at levels 1 through 4 you can do this with this big bad guy. At levels 5 through 10 you can do this with this which is nice. It's a nice approach. It works very well, especially for 5th edition, which power scales a lot higher than 1st edition, which is what I play as a rule. And these go up to level 20, which is like, yeah. But there's elemental evil. There's Ayuz the evil. And so they give some nice things here. And then it gives an overview of the Greyhawk setting, and it uses wild space, which I like. It's got a nice little calendar, Padoosh. it's got the names of the days of the year. It's got factions and organizations, including the Circle of Eight, Knights of the Watch, Order of the Heart, Scarlet Order. The Scarlet Brotherhood has been officially renamed to the Scarlet Order, but it won't be at my table, I'll tell you that. And it gives you a little advice on how adventurers can interact with the organizations, which is cool. It gives a little thing on magic, how prevalent magic is, but that's something I think each DM is going to scale that differently according to their own desires. Gives Mysteries of Greyhawk, which is kind of just like adventure hooks. Black folk of Monoland, devastating magic about the Sewell Black Lunish War, the land of black ice. Um, uh, which I love this little thing. Stranger still, a verdant land is rumored to exist beyond the ice where the sun never sets. This goes back to my um, uh, hollow earth theory that I did a video on a while ago. So I'm glad that they're picking up on my stuff. I'm sure that's where they got that. Riches of the Bright Desert, Rift Canyon, White Plume Mountain, on and on and on. They give a list of the gods. It's a very incomplete list. They only have like the highlights of the deities. There's a lot of the more obscure ones and the lesser deities and so forth. They don't have a lot of the demigods that I'm a big fan of. Wastri the Hopping Prophet isn't in here and so forth. But I get it. They don't necessarily need to be comprehensive when they're limited to 30 pages or so. Um, and then it starts in on the city itself, which is a very cool thing. Um, uh, they give you adventure hooks. They give you what it's like to be in the city. There's a map, like I say, the poster map that's in the back of the book. On the back of it, it has that. Gives how to use the city as a home base and give background connections to the different NPCs in the city. And it's by definition, this is only a high level view, right? It's not trying to get in depth into a lot of stuff, which is fine. I'm very cool with that approach. They don't seem to be changing a lot of stuff here. um, they have Naroff Gaskell is the mayor, which is a good thing. They're keeping that name. They give here's a slip down version of the map, which is cool. It's got different locations in the city: the Black Dragon Inn, the High Tower Inn, the Great Library, the Grand Citadel, Silver Dragon Inn, a couple of temples, and something called Unearthed Arcana, which is okay. Um, yeah, it's a magic item shop. So, oh joy. I'm not a fan of magic item shops. I think magic item shops are a stupid idea. That's just I know I'm shouting in a cloud, but there it is. It's got a nice map of the environs, which is a very cool thing. It's got a bunch of different locations in there, different villages and the Mist Marsh and so forth. So it's not that bad. Then it gives an overview of the lands of the Flanaess. It's got another map that divides things into different regions, which they did. I think they started to do that in From the Ashes. They might have done a little later. I know The Adventure Begins has that approach, and there's nothing wrong with it, I suppose. I don't really see the benefit to it, but if you want to group countries together by region, okay, it's not the worst thing. And I should also point out that if you are looking for a more in-depth treatment of the different lands of the Flanaess and so forth, I do have my Greyhawk campaign guide available on DM's Guild, which goes into a lot more detail on a whole bunch of aspects of each country, and that kind of brings it back to a more old school feel, but should be almost completely compatible with what's in here, except for some of the ruler names. So anyway, they do rename some things. They don't call the Wolf Nomads the Wolf Nomads anymore. They're called the Wegweir, which is not a complete retcon because they were called that in the gold box as well. But the Rovers are still called the Rovers, which is kind of interesting. Um, and Then they give for each of the locations, for each of the countries, they just give a quick table, right? They have like one line on a table for each country. So it says Celine, the ruler is Queen Yolande. She's an elf. A description: elven monarchy with a large gnome and halfling populations. And they do that for all of the different, well, a lot of the different countries in the setting. And that's an interesting approach. There are a few. This is where they start to retcon things that I'm not a great fan of. So, for example, the ruler of Divers, which is the other great city on the near dive, that's a big rival of Greyhawk. The ruler is Magister Thementia Gora, Gortos, who is an Azamar. And I realize they want to integrate their new races into the setting. I get that. I'm much more of a fan of the idea that Greyhawk is humanocentric and it should remain that way. And dwarves, elves, gnomes, and halflings are one thing, but when you start getting into these weirder races, I'm not sure they're a really good fit for Greyhawk. It's a tonal thing more than anything else. I mean, you can make anything work if you want to, but it seems like it's unnecessary to start changing around all the rulers, and why they couldn't just keep the same name and just change the race is kind of weird. And they do that in a bunch of different places. Um, Verbabank is now ruled by a viscountess instead of a uh, viscount, which is also very weird. But they do have some of the real one, of the real ones, of the original names in here. Like Canon Hazen is the ruler of Valuna and so forth. So it's not the end of the world. It's just I don't like change, and it's I'm old. And the big thing that North Province is now Erdiak, which is just stupid as hell. But on the whole, they make some changes to the things. They change some of the names and races and genders of the rulers of the places. So it's to my mind, it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, they have one thing that did leap out at me here. Um, was there one of the rulers was an orc, which was completely out of place. And it also seems like the Bone March is now not under the rule of humanoids, but under the rule of um, Nyrond and not, yeah, of what is it called? Yeah, Nyrond and Almor, which is a very big departure, and I'm struggling to understand that change. Um, but it's on the whole, it's not awful, I guess. The Grand March is now ruled by a dwarf. One thing that doesn't make a lick of sense is the yeomanry is now ruled by a Goliath, which I guess is a half giant. That doesn't make any sense because the giants are the big enemies of the humans there along the Crystal Mist Mountains. So I'm not sure how that makes any sense. One thing they have here: the Pomarge is now a lawless peninsula home to bandits and marauders, not humanoids. I dislike that intensely. They're going to be orcs, evil orcs, and so forth in my Pomarge. But that's I'm not going to go through the whole thing. That's pretty much it. They break it down and they give you different adventures that you can do and what the culture's like. This is one thing I do like about this is that they do say, this is what the culture is like in the Western Flanaess as opposed to the Eastern Flanaess as opposed to the Central Flanaess. It kind of I like that kind of flavor, where you can say, like enormous value is placed on the values of hospitality and generosity, particularly almsgiving and pious donations to temples, whereas in the Northern Flanaess, you know, uh, uh, it's a different culture, which I really like that kind of stuff. So on the whole, it's a mixed bag, as I knew it would be. It's not as awful as I had feared, but it's also not as good as I had hoped. I will at some point hopefully do a more in depth view of it, but this was a quick little jaunt through the book. There was one other thing that I did like when they talk about this is not part of the Greyhawk section, by the way. This is just part of like how to run a campaign thing, and they're talking about campaigns that cross the streams. And one of the things that they have is a picture of Murlynd, because they're talking about doing stuff that like mixes sci-fi and fantasy and different worlds and so forth. And it says a bold adventurer Murlynd has visited many worlds and has a fondness for six shooters and talking clocks, which is an allusion to his home, which was in Beyond the Magic Mirror, or one of the Alice in Wonderland modules. So anyway, there it is. It's like I say, it's a mixed bag. It's not completely awful. It's got definitely got some things that annoy me. definitely has some things that I do like, which is a good thing. But, on the whole, I'm not sure it was worth it for 30 pages, but, I had to get it. I am a completist. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and stay safe from fingertips. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.